Hey guys, Furum here, and today I'm going to be testing the Koenigsegg Jesko at max in multiplayer in Asphalt 9. Now, it is completely golden in the Legendary Masters Series 2, so you'll get to see how it performs at its very maximum performance. Please consider subscribing if you haven't already, and enjoy the video. So as I said previously, these races were recorded in the Legendary Masters Series 2 multiplayer season, which took place not long ago. I plan to make a video with each car in this season. I already made one of the Regera, now we've got the Jesco, and ones with the Shuren and the Rimac will come out in the near future. I've also got videos upcoming about some of the new Porsches as well, so stay tuned for those. Forgive me if I pronounce this car the Jesco throughout the video, it's just so easy to pronounce it that way rather than the Jesco, which is apparently how it is really pronounced, but I'll try my best. So I'm sure most of you know that this car is considered to be the king of the game, and it really is on most tracks, and in multiplayer I would still say it is the best car to choose. However, there have been some cases where I almost wish I was driving the Rimac instead, especially perhaps on tracks like Rome, where the Rimac's very good acceleration and nitro efficiency are going to come in quite handy, but at least the Jesco has really good drifting and handling capabilities. That is one thing that's really good about it. While its acceleration and nitro efficiency are not great, it is at least able to keep its speed very well around the corners. The Jesco feels kind of like an upgraded version of the Trion Nemesis rather than that of the Regera, because if you saw my Regera video and if you own the car, you know that it is rather cumbersome at times, although I did notice a lot of you guys on that video about the Regera said that you actually preferred driving it over some of the other cars in this season, and that kind of surprised me because I found that it was definitely the hardest one to drive and the least reliable one for me, but as I said in my best and worst cars in each class list video, everybody has different preferences for multiplayer, and that's completely fine. This car can go up to 324 miles per hour at its complete maximum speed, I believe, which is by far faster than any other car in the game. No other car can get up to above 300 miles per hour while on the ground. So this car has a good, like 25 miles per hour maximum speed advantage over every other car in the game, which, as you might expect, does not actually come into play all that often, because it's hard enough to maintain a speed above 260 or 270, and in this car you're really only going to be able to take advantage of that crazy high top speed on tracks like the Himalayas, perhaps some parts of, say, Scotland. Any time after like a big ramp, we're able to gain a bunch of airspeed and keep a lot of it upon landing is where this car's top speed is really going to shine through. But on the majority of tracks, like its biggest really good trait is actually going to be its amazing drifting capabilities. Now, it doesn't necessarily have the best drifting speed, and that is an important distinction to make. There are some cars that drift very well, such as this one, that don't have an amazingly high drifting speed, and then there are some cars that might not have as tight of a drift radius, but are able to keep their drift speed a little bit better. There is usually not too much of a disparity there, it's just definitely something to keep in mind. And I still believe that the handling stat on cars has more to do with how much speed it keeps when turning rather than the actual drifting radius, because like this car, for example, doesn't have nearly as high of a handling as, say, the Corvette or the Huracan. I mean, this car drifts a lot better than the Huracan. You guys know that the Huracan, while it's very agile and drifts well, it's not the tightest drifter. It still feels slightly stiff when drifting a lot of the time, so that definitely has something to do with it. Also, on the opposite end, cars like the Lycan or the Trion Nemesis, maybe, for example, which drift really well, but have low handling stats. Some people have asked me about why that's the case, and I believe it's because they don't keep as much speed when they are drifting, even though they do drift very well. Now here at the beginning here, this Rimac bumps me a little bit, causing me to go on the very inside there. I don't usually do that. Then he goes right on top of me. Thankfully, we both had shockwave, because I've had occasions where I've gone on top of someone and they had shockwave, and then they knocked me down. Shockwave is basically the king of knockdowns. If you're in shockwave, you're pretty much never going to get knocked down, and if people touch you, even if they land on top of you, even if they 360 you, if you're in shockwave and they're not, there's a pretty good chance that you may knock them down instead, even if it was technically their fault. There was a time in the current Porsche season, I think, where I was actually in shockwave and riding on top of another car in shockwave for a few seconds. It was interesting. I'm glad neither of us got knocked down, but thankfully that doesn't happen too often. Here, this Rimac bumps me, and then he told me afterwards that he actually accidentally 360 there, but it was enough to allow me to pull ahead at the last second with that very high speed and come in first place. Areas like that, which happen on a lot of the Himalayan tracks, are really where this car is able to shine at its very most. So now for our next race, which is on Osaka. Now this is a track that I would say the Rimac might be slightly better than the Jesco on, simply because of all the tight turns and stuff, and it definitely pays to have a better acceleration and nitro efficiency here. But because the Jesco still drifts well, it's able to get around the turns without hitting the sides, without having a problem in that respect. You just have to be able to keep up the speed when you're in the straightaways to have enough nitro to actually get up there. We are able to do it a good bit here, and I found that if you go down there and land in the middle in the right spot, you can actually keep your speed. As you saw when I landed, I had around 320 or so I basically kept the car's top speed when landing there, but you have to land near the middle for that. I found if you land on the sides after you fall down that area, you will definitely lose more speed, and if you go up on the sides, you will lose more speed as well. There, I knew I wasn't going to be able to make the ramp, so I came over to the left, and see, really, this car's poor nitro efficiency, I would say, is probably its biggest weakness, because there's times when, because of it, I'm not able to accelerate enough around the corner, or I go over a sidewalk or something and don't have enough nitro to go over it without losing speed, that I just don't have enough speed, and cars like the Chiron, which aren't as fast, but do have better nitro efficiency and acceleration, are able to get ahead. Now, he did wreck there near the very end, so we were able to take the victory in that race, but if he hadn't have wrecked, he would have beat us. Here we are facing the same guy again, AW Adarsh, and we have got probably my favorite track in the game, and it is actually one that is very well suited for these top speed cars. It is on Nile River, and you can see in this section here, we're up above 300, and we can keep the speed for a good bit of the way through. Then we have to drift around this corner, losing some of the speed, but then getting right back up to it. And so it's tracks like this one, where you are able to keep that speed for a long time, that the Jesco is truly going to be able to do really well on. But on really twisty ones, even though this car can handle well, it just doesn't really have the acceleration or nitro efficiency to be able to keep that speed all the way through. So the Jesco is one of those cars that is definitely really well suited for some tracks, but not so well for others. The Rimac, on the other hand, while maybe not being as good overall, I would say is more consistently good across tracks, especially in multiplayer. It is probably more reliable. I would not go so far as to say it's a better choice for multiplayer. I still chose the Jesco over the Rimac in this season generally, but for less experienced players, I would say that honestly the Rimac is probably going to be a better choice in seasons like this one. Now for a battle against another Koenigsegg Jesko, of course at the same rank, since they were regulated to that in this season. I found that with cars with poor nitro efficiency, it is usually better to go over to the right here in the beginning, because if you don't have enough nitro for a shockwave to go up to the left, you're going to lose speed there, and it's actually going to become longer rather than shorter, because it is a slightly shorter route, but you have to have shockwave to get through there without losing speed. So yeah, with cars like the Jesco and anything else with low nitro, it's better to go off to the right there at the beginning of the race. Now, if you're on a variant of Scotland, which has that section later in the race, yeah, you can definitely do it in this car. So I'm sure you guys saw I uploaded recently on my channel my 30,000 subscriber Q&A with my girlfriend, and so check that out if you haven't seen it yet, and thank you all so much for your support. It really does mean a lot to me. 30,000 subscribers is a really crazy milestone. Some of you guys have asked when I plan to make another Asphalt music video. Well, I usually tend to do one every 6 months or so. The last one I uploaded was in January, so you can expect one probably around July. I have actually begun working on lyrics and music for it already, so yes, it is in production, and I know what it's going to be about and everything like that. I'm pretty sure you guys are going to like it. So we've already come to our final race in the video. It goes by so fast, doesn't it? And now it's time for me to give my general review of this car. It is the king of the game. It's by far the fastest, by 25 miles per hour at least. It has quite good drifting. However, its drifting speed, acceleration, and nitro are kind kind of mediocre, so it definitely takes a little bit of a learning curve to be able to drive this car really well. However, it is still not terribly hard to drive, and I think most people can pick it up without too much of a problem. And given that this car is the king of the game and all, people have asked me if I think its special event will be coming back very soon, and the question is, I don't think it will come back soon, because Gameloft hasn't done any reruns of any events so far, and I don't think the king of the game would be the first one that they do. And if they do bring it back, I hope it's not quite as pay to win. Thank you all for watching. Please like the video if you have enjoyed, and consider subscribing for more Asphalt and other games content. And I will see you in my next video. Goodbye.